So anybody got an HP 12C calculator? I'm old school, right? Nobody has a so if you put $1 million as the future value and you put in 25% interest, the present value is going to be about $600, $600,000. So it's a present value number. Okay? All right. So let's, here you are. Here's your company. All right? We take 5 years of data. So where would be the average of this company? If I took historical data, Paul, where is that? Right here? About there? So this would be the history value of the company, right? Where's the company headed? Can you see this? Where's the company headed? Up, right? So what we do is we use engineering statistical programming to do curve fit. So we'll take a linear curve. A linear curve says that company's growing at about 40, 45%, 40, 30, 40%, right? Okay, we could take an exponential curve. That's e to the x. That's where it's growing. Or we could take a power curve, and it's growing about like that. Okay, now, where would this company value be if we use the power curve? So we'll take 5 years of data going out. Where is that value? Well, where the company's headed, let's say it's right here. Okay, so if you're buying a company, what do you want to emphasize? I can't trust the future, man. This is what you've done, and I don't know whether this is going to tail off, or I don't know what it's going to do. So you buy with history. If you've built the company for 20 years, you finally got a good hockey stick going, what are you selling? We're going to sell, hey, wait a minute, 20 years building this business, I've got a hockey stick going, I should get something out of the top. Now, by the way, a trend is 3 years. Okay? Not 1 year, so if you have one blip, that really doesn't do much. You've got to have 3 years to build a trend, all right? So, yes, sir?
Is that 3 years of EBITDA growth or 3
yes.
years of revenue growth?
Could be both. Could be both. Like if you have an explanation of why the EBITDA, like the board company I'm serving on, where we use all the EBITDA to expand, then revenue growth, fine.
Okay, perfect.
Okay? All right, so we're looking here. So most everybody gives you this number, your history number, right? So we're going to expand it to 2 numbers because we're going to go to the future. And then what we want to do is ask management and say, give us a low estimate, an expected case, and a high case, because management typically knows what the company's going to do. So we're asking for them to give us some estimates. And so now all of a sudden we got 5 numbers instead of 1 number on the income method. Can you see the value of knowledge is power here? Because remember, it's not an exact science. So I'm trying to get a grouping of where these numbers are fitting so that we can see what the value is. Okay, does everybody understand the present value? So what we do is we present value these things back, okay? And that gives us today dollar. And we use a risk factor, it's called the discount factor, to determine what the present value is. That answer that question? We good on that? Whoever had the question.
So let me make sure I understand. So you're saying if you are saying the company's doing this 3 years from now, X, Y, and Z, you discount that for 3 years. You discount it 3 years worth of discount.
3 years, 2 years, 1 year.
And then you average that number.
Then they cumulative. They add together.
So you're paying for 3 years cumulatively.
Each one of those numbers adds back because you take the cash flow, the net cash flow.
It's not clear to me. I don't
Okay.
You're buying, that company's going to make money in the future, and you're trying to buy that money today.
That's exactly what.
So you're taking, but it's risky because it may not happen, so you're buying it
that
for
part,
less.
but if you accumulate, like how you go out 10 years?
Okay, that's an excellent question. We're going to answer that. So we'll answer it right now. It's later, but I'll answer it right now. What credit in this model do you get for years 6 to infinity? What credit do you get? You get 0, right? Because we're only doing 5 years. We're doing 5 years. So you don't get any credit out there. So what we do is we call it the terminal value. So we sell your business at year 5 and present value that lump sum back and add that. That's one of the common errors that's made, is you go to your accountant and say, hey, run my cash flow for the last 5 years and tell me what my value is, and they forget the terminal value, which is credit for 6 and up.
So if you grow 30% for 3 years in a row, you extrapolate that out 5 more years and you sell off the discount of that.
Yep, that's a high value. The normal value is you take your 3 years and present value that back, and that's what your value is. I think looking ahead is important. Paul, did that answer your question about future?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about the discount rate that applies to these future projections, especially as you go further. I don't know how that.
I'll get you to the risk and how we determine that discount factor, but you understand the concept. I believe that the future is just as important as the past. Knowledge is power, right? That's what I'm trying to share with you. Yes, sir.
Can you give a dollar example? Like if you're growing $1 million to $2 million to $3 million, 5 years, you know, I'll use that example because I'm to agree a little bit lost into year number 5 without getting numbers.
Yeah, so it depends on your discount factor and your risk, obviously. But if you were growing at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, that's 8, 10, that's 9, 12, 14, 15 million of cash flow coming back. If your discount factor was about 25%, that 15 would go to about 7 or 8, somewhere in there.
So today my sales would be 5 million, but you're saying the value would be 7 to 8 million.
Today's number is going to be 5 million. It's the 5 years out that's going to. It's cumulative. You're adding them all. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right, so I know this is complicated. Remember, I'm not trying to make you certified valuators. I'm just trying to give you some concepts so that when you talk about valuation, you're not saying, well, let's just go do an net asset, and sell our company. Yes?
Basically, you're buying an expected annuity.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what you're doing. Yes?
So if your business model has recurring revenue from clients, it's going to go out past 6 years. It's going to go on forever.
Yeah, that's a terminal. Then you catch that in the terminal value.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm going to talk specifically about reoccurring revenue. It's a heavy multiplier over non-reoccurring, and I'll give you some examples because it's later. So if I don't, remind me, but I'm going to tell you about it, how that adds value. Because when we get to the section of how to add value, that's one way for sure. Okay, all right. So sorry to hit you with all this heavy stuff, but I have to at least share with you some of the theory for you to understand it. Okay, so 3 to 5 scenarios of your income method instead of just your history. That's what I'm looking for. Knowledge is power. All right. Now, how do we get the risk factor? Let's see. Jacob left. He wanted to know how my risk factor. Okay, who has a bank loan? Anybody? Tell me what your interest rate on your bank loan is right now. Huh? 4.5? 4.25? Somebody over here? Okay, so I've got to stop and tell you a story. Because tell me now, who would like to share with me their net income percent of revenue? So percent of net income to revenue. Anybody want to share me a percent? Yes.